Hello, and welcome to episode 56 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. My name is Kevin, and with me this week to talk about Switch delays and Pokemon Zeta A's is Harrison.
Hey, I'm back, and it's just me again.
Yep, just us this time. We're having a adjustment period here. I changed my work hours. Sean's got some stuff going on, so uh shouldn't be any other interruptions to our upload schedule, but might be the episodes might be a little less edited than normal for a little bit, and then we'll get back into the flow of things. So you're gonna hear the raw, uncut Nintendo therapy.
Okay.
So how's your week been, Harrison?
Nothing too new on the gaming part. I don't think so. Like I don't. I guess. Oh, I played that new. Uh, I'm gonna mess up how to say it, but it's either Balatro or Balatro, but it's that new roguelike poker card game that exploded this past week. I think when I checked yesterday, it was like all the way up to like number 15 on the American eShops. So I played that, and it's super good. It's like an indie game that I never heard of until it came out, and it kind of just took the world by storm. Uh, that's kind of cool. Have you picked up Star Wars? That's what I want to know.
Not yet. So I'm still swinging away at my back catalog and vowing to purchase as few new games as possible. I'm almost done with Turok 2, which
Oh,
is a game I have played but never finished and have had since it launched on the Nintendo 64. I remember that was actually a Christmas present one year. That's a Christmas memory game. And yeah, I never finished that game, but I'm almost to the point of finishing that. So that's like a couple of decades old goal that I can check off the list. Um, and still plugging away at Tears of the Kingdom as well. I'm amazed at how much content is in that game the more I keep going. Like, it's I organized my Switch titles by playtime the other day, and it's creeping up on having the most playtime of any Switch game so far. Right now, the top two are Stardew Valley and Final Fantasy X. Only because that game is it's 10 and 10 2, so it's two games included in the playtime. Plus, like, I did a run where I like 100%ed it, so that game's got hundreds of hours on it. But Tears of the Kingdom is definitely going to be in the top three when the Switch is all said and done.
so you're enjoying it then? That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's just like I'm realizing now how many hours I've put in, and I'm just like, wow, there's so much in this. It's like three games really. You got the three layers. You got that underworld, you got the Hyrule, and you got the Sky World.
yeah, I need to get back into it. Maybe I'll just open up a different profile and just start another one day. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the first area is a little bit long as well.
It definitely
So
takes longer to get into. Sean and I were texting about that the other day when we were talking, like, comparing it to Breath of the Wild. And I feel like Tears of the Kingdom really hits me when about the time that I cure the Deku Tree. And like you get the Master Sword, and I think that's when, and that's like a ways in before it really starts to feel like, hey, I've got a lot of stuff. I've built a decent arsenal, and there's still plenty left to go. You know that feeling?
yeah, is any of it starting to feel like is that any of it starting to feel old? Like the man who has to hold up the sign. I can't remember his
Yeah,
name now.
yeah, for sure. For sure. And then there's a lot of those too. Like, it's like, oh, come on, that wouldn't have fallen down. Like, you're wasting my
Yeah.
time at this point. Like, come on. And what else? Like, uh,
The
just some,
Koroks, the
uh, no, I'd say just more like typical criticisms of Zelda games, like a lot of padding, where Link is taking forever to get up after you take like a big hit, and you're like, just get up, or like climbing the mountains. Or here's one thing that is a holdover from Breath of the Wild, is like there's so many times that I just want to climb, uh and look at an area and it starts raining, and you're like, what the and I have the clothing that helps you climb in the rain, but it's still annoying. Or like
right,
the other day I was in an area where I saw a pile of leaves that clearly is meant to be burned, and there's something under this pile, but because it was raining I couldn't do it, and I had rain on like the next like two sections of the forecast. So I was like, I can't just wait around here to find out what's in these leaves. So I had to mark it on my map and come back to it later.
right, right. Yeah, I have nothing else to say besides that. Like, I look at the game in my library and I'm like, like, just like you gotta like Harrison, you gotta try and finish this game. Um, it's just I don't know. Towards the end, I wasn't having fun. So I guess I got to find the motivation. But at the same time, it took me forever. It took me forever to actually beat Breath of the Wild, and now it's one of my favorite games. So I have time. It's not like the next Zelda game is coming out next year or something. Oh,
That we know of.
unless
Yeah, I mean,
if it does.
that's that might be a good segue. Let's talk about something that a lot of the internet's talking about, and talk about those Switch 2 rumors. We can start with rumors this week. Uh and the fact that a system that we don't even have confirmation that it exists yet is allegedly delayed. So something that doesn't even maybe exist now has a delay. And what we're talking about here is there's been strong rumors that, as we've reported on this podcast before, that originally they were going to announce the new system in March for a Christmas time release. But now the rumors are saying that it's being pushed back to first quarter, most likely March of 2025 for the release. So they'll, who knows when they'll announce it. But yeah, the first thing I thought when I heard this is it, it seems like more likely to me that they would delay this system because they have a killer launch game planned, and the game is being delayed more than the system being delayed. But I don't know if they delay a whole launch for one game. Maybe there's other factors too, but it was a possibility in my mind.
I don't think we're ever gonna know.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think we'll ever find out. And I think, to me, when I see news like this, I just relate it to the state of the world. I mean, just looking at how everything else functions, not even just video game companies, but just a lot of things just take longer now. And then I guess if I could go back to the video game thing, we know that Nintendo is not going to rush this. And Nintendo also knows that, like, there's no point in rushing it at this point of the video game generation. I mean, I was surprised to find this out. Do you know how many PS5 exclusives there are at this point?
No, not. I'm
There's
guessing not a lot.
13.
Yeah, yeah,
And
because that system's definitely been criticized for not really forcing people to upgrade to the new gen.
right. And then you have these other consoles coming out, whether it's like your Steam, like your Steam decks, I'll say, and the variety of them, where now you can play, like, Game Pass or Steam or PC, and people are thinking, well, like, unless I'm playing exclusive titles, I could have all of my games on, like, one thing, besides your exclusives. I think I don't think we're ever gonna find out. I don't have much else to say. How are you feeling about this news? Like,
Well,
are you
one
feeling
thing I've read
anxious?
about a possible reason for the delay is the thing they keep talking about where like they want to make sure they have enough systems available for launch and they don't want there to be a shortage like there was with the PlayStation 5. But part of me is wondering like I hope they don't overdo it. You know what I mean? And have like an ET situation on our hands where they produce way more consoles than they need and it ends up in the system hurting them like the Wii U did. So I don't know. You know, Nintendo, you know your business. I'm just a little worried.
Are you, as a consumer, are you feeling anything? Are you feeling anxious at all?
I'm actually happy about the rumored delays because as I've said a bunch of times before, I'm trying to work on my backlog. So just means I'll have more time for that. And to me, this also pretty much increases the chances that I think they're going to release Wind Waker and Twilight Princess finally because I always reference this article I remember reading. I don't even remember who the interview was with, but it was somebody at Nintendo who basically said that a lot of times they will hold off on like basically guaranteed success releases like a Wind Waker HD. Um, they hold on to them until there's an unexpected delay in their release calendar, and then they can fill the hole with that instead. So if the system was delayed, that would be an unexpected hole in their calendar, and you could fill it with Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD.
Yeah, it's I I was surprised by this news. At least a little bit. Is like, while I have a huge backlog, I mean, I could never buy a game again. I would be okay. But even for me, I have a small feeling where I'm like, come on, like just a little bit, like just like even just Nintendo telling us like what was the whatever like the Switch, whatever the Switch was called before it was the Switch, like just Nintendo
Oh, it was
saying
like
like
the XZ or something, the ZX something. I don't
yeah,
know.
just like send out a tweet or something, Nintendo. Like just tell us something, or
Yeah.
just tell us something. Or just tell it. Like we're hearing all of these things that are probably true through all these different sources. And even me, who I would never need Nintendo to release another game again. Even I'm like, look, can we move ahead a little bit? Can we have an idea? Um, so that's kind of my feeling as well. I'm not as much. I'm not as much worried as consumer. I think Nintendo's gonna kill this generation. In a good way. Like, uh, just the way the other systems are going at this point. I think they're gonna do very well.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
I,
I definitely agree.
so I don't know. Along with the rumor, I added that that we are more than likely breaking a 6-year trend of the Nintendo Direct cycle. Um, and that was another rumor that was posted. If you're ready to move on,
Yeah, yeah, no, totally.
this comes from well, I pulled it off of Game Rant, but according to a Brazilian journalist he goes by the name Brazil, but I think it's Pedro Henrique Luti Lipe or something like that. He says that a Switch 2 announcement will come during a June Direct. And this is quoted on Famaboard saying Here's what I've heard post Friday: Direct in April, General or Mini, I don't know. Indie World before that, probably March. June for Switch 2 reveal. Everything in flux always, but I'm feeling good. So, end quote. um, so he's been correct on things before as a Nintendo insider, whether that's coincidence or not. But that would break up the 6 year scheduling going all the way back to the 3DS era of direct release dates.
The thing
So
that I wonder about that though is would they want to announce the new system if it is delayed until March of 2025? Let's assume that that rumor is true. Would they want to announce it before the Christmas season? Like that would you would think that might affect the sale of Switch systems over now that they need to rely on Switch systems if that's delayed. Um, you might want to, keep in mind the average, shopper has no idea of any of these rumors or anything. They are not as deep in the weeds as we are. So they're going to see Nintendo Switch and they're going to get it, but they might hear that Nintendo has a new system coming out and not buy a Switch and wait. So I wonder if that's something that factors in.
I have no idea because which one's better? Like, is it better? Like, is it better to say in June, we have a new system coming out next year? This holiday season, we're knocking $50 off Switches. We
That's true.
are,
That's true.
we're knocking $50 off every Switch, OLED, Switch Lite. We're gonna bring out some
Especially
new.
if you can put in the announcement that the new system will be reverse compatible. So, hey, play these for a couple of months and then get your new Switch.
Yeah, yeah, because let's look at the other way. Let's say there's no announcement, there's nothing in the change of prices, and then we roll into the next holiday season going, well, if you don't have a Switch by now, you could buy it, but also like consumers aren't like we're not dumb, like consumers are gonna look at a product and go, it's a 7-year-old product, should I get it now? Some people, yes. I think they'll have a
I mean,
good holiday season.
I've met people even this year at work at my job that are like still like considering buying a Switch. You know what I mean? Like those people are out there as few and far between as they might be at this point. So
Sure,
I
and
don't
the
know.
answer is yes. And the answer, like, if someone asked me right now, I'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, and if they said, well, like, what if a new system comes out next year? I'd be like, that's possible. But
Yep.
if you want it now, I'd say get it now because there's like tons of games that you can play today or just with a subscription. So I don't know which one's better. I don't know if it's better to do it before. I don't know if it's better to do it right after, and then people say, "Oh, well, I just bought this new one." I don't know, but uh, that's the rumor that it's going to be kind of a breakup of the usual schedule, and perhaps we get. I mean, we just got a Pokemon short presentation. Perhaps we get a presentation next month, and I'm interested in seeing, do we get a big direct possibly in April? Who
Well,
knows?
speaking of Pokemon, what did you think of the Zeta Ada announcement?
I was confused. So like, I watched it. I watched it on my own. Usually I'll watch it with like a streamer just to get the hype going. Um, but so I didn't play Pokemon X and Y, so I don't know Lumio City. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. So when the title came up, I was like, okay, Pokemon Legends Z minus A Z Alpha. What Z
Pokemon algebra.
J, Z Z some okay. I was like okay, and then I had to go look online to uh to see what it was. I'm gonna kind of steal Arlo's talking point, but I'm gonna take it for my own. I'm very happy to find out that they're not rushing Pokemon games. Like I'm very happy that this is a 2025 release because I don't need a Pokemon game this year, and just anything that points to showing me that Pokemon isn't trying to like rush through a schedule and get games out at a certain time to match up with the anime or the trading cards or whatever else. And I thought Legends Arceus was awesome. I'm super happy. I'm super excited to see what this city setting looks like. And we don't really know anything about the game yet. So a lot of things talked about online are what the time period is going to be, whether it's the past, the present, I mean, past, the future, whether it's like not related to the XY, time period. I'm pretty excited about it. How about you?
Yeah, I've been getting back into Pokemon a lot lately. I'm currently playing a ROM hack for the first gen, where it's one of those ones where not only can you catch all 150 Pokemon without having to trade, but it also has the gold and silver Pokemon generation mixed in. So it's a really cool ROM hack. It's called Pokemon Red Plus Plus. If anyone out there is interested,
Ah, okay.
and yeah, I think I'm gonna like kind of work my way through the franchise from the beginning, but not necessarily playing every single thing or like I'm not gonna try to catch them all in every game. But I really wanted to revisit that original game because it was such a big part of my childhood, and not even play like any of the remade versions, like not even play like Fire Red or Leaf Green. And I'm enjoying it a lot, even though it's a ROM hack. It's still the same original assets, so it's enough nostalgia for me.
Wow. We we got him, boys. Like Kevin bought an Ambernick, and he's playing Pokemon ROM hacks. Oh, this is dangerous territory. I'm just letting you know right now. Like I can't believe because I didn't think you would necessarily enjoy fan made games.
I like some of them. Like there's also a I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a like legendary like great sequel, quote unquote sequel to Ocarina of Time that was fan made that I want to try as well. And what else? A couple of Mario games, but I mean those are basically like you could just play Mario Maker. But
Right.
yeah, yeah, it has to be really good for me to get into it, or have a gimmick involved. And I think this is more about the gimmick of being able to catch them all, than it is about the ROM hack. But it does change certain things. Like it does like make the story a little less obtuse in points, and like, change some of the NPC dialogues so that stuff is spelled out more clearly, stuff like that.
Well, if you want a hilarious Gen 1 ROM hack, which I think is kind of gimmicky, I highly recommend Pokemon. I think it's Pokemon Red Team Rocket Edition, um, where you play Pokemon Red from the perspective of a Team Rocket employee, and
Oh,
it's
that's
it's
that's
it's
cute.
really cool. And there's even cutscenes where you see like the main protagonist come in, and you kind of fill in the gaps in the story from that perspective. It's really really funny. And you also steal Pokemon in it, so I guess that's kind of the gimmick part of it. Uh,
So did they put a release date on Z to A?
so no, it's scheduled for 2025,
Oh,
and
that's right. That's right, because people
and
were talking about how it might be a Switch 2 launch title because of that.
Right. And the big speculation then, as you said, was at the end of the trailer, there was a Nintendo Switch icon shown. So you could say, Harrison, who cares? Like, it's just a picture, like, whatever. But, 2025, is it a Switch? Could it be a Switch 2 launch title? There's no set release date. There is a Switch icon on there. So is it a Switch game? I don't know.
Well, it could be both. It
But
could be cross gen.
it could be. Um, could we've never had Pokemon as a launch title. Correct me if I'm wrong. Thinking about, I don't think so. Um, so that could be. It's definitely possible. That's all. That's all I got. New Legends game. Very happy about that. Not come out this year. Very happy about that. The 14-minute presentation. Other than that, it included some updates to the mobile games, and there is a new mobile game coming out this year called Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, which it looks, there's currently a trading card game available on mobile, but it's really, really, really bad. It's almost like an alpha stage flash game. It's really bad. But this one looks more like, to me, it looks more like if you've played Marvel Snap, where it's like there's lots of really big, fun, cool animations, like the cards come alive, and there's going to be a big emphasis on pack opening. So get ready for like the loot box aspect of it. But it looks really nice. Like you can like slide your finger over it to like open the pack, and then I think this is going to be a way for the Pokemon Company to get people interested in the actual physical cards. Like, okay, I played the free mobile game. Now I want to go out and buy some actual cards. And of course, there's going to be in app purchases as well. We'll see how predatory it's going to be, but I'm pretty excited to check it out. I love collecting card games pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. There's something about my brain that gets addicted to collecting almost anything. So I almost have to be wary of starting stuff like that, or I become too obsessed.
Yeah, I mean it's the original. I don't know if it's the original Gotcha, but it definitely is addicting to rip open those packs, and then that little dopamine hit you can get from getting that really rare, really valuable in game card. So that's it. I liked the presentation because it was fast. It was 14 minutes, and I skipped ahead. It was like, okay, like Cafe Remix, Pokemon Go event. There's updates to Scarlet and Violet, so it's good they're still updating that.
There were
What
also
other news?
updates to Switch Online this week. We should talk about that. They added,
Yeah.
well, last week when we weren't here, but they added Battletoads in Battle Maniacs on the Super Nintendo, Blast Core on Nintendo 64, Killer Instinct for Super Nintendo, RC Pro Am on NES, and Snake Rattle and Roll on the NES. I knew Blast Core was coming. I think when we did that episode of Nintendo 64 games they're missing, I listed that as like a guaranteed to come someday game.
So you listed off the five rare titles, right?
Yes.
These are. So in that presentation, were there any rare titles where you were like, "Come on, where is it?"
Well, I know a lot of people have been waiting for Diddy Kong Racing and Banjo Tooie, but um, if we did get those in this announcement, that would be all we got. You know what I mean? They're not going to put those in a group of a bunch of other things. It's going to be like its own special announcement because they know there's a lot of anticipation for those games. And one thing I keep reminding people of, because this is another thing I actually wanted to talk about this week, is when the obviously before every Pokemon presentation, the internet says like, "Oh, what do you expect to hear at the Pokemon presentation?" And like without fail, every time there's people who are like, "I think Switch Online is getting red, blue, gold, silver, heart gold, heart." They list like 8 games, and I'm always like, they're not gonna. They're trying to stretch. What I say, keep reminding people of is that you're gonna try to stretch the service out as long as they can. We're not gonna get all those games at once, people. We're not. Like, just be happy if they put yellow up by itself. you know um but anyway, I forgot what I was talking about that led me down that train of thought. Blast Core. Oh, the rare games. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna get like Banjo Tooie with Diddy Kong Racing, but I think both of those will probably show up at some point.
I think so too. I think so as well. I was surprised that we got like this was
Donkey Kong
perhaps
64 as well. That's another rare title that should show up at some point.
yeah that's that was perhaps like the big or like the biggest surprise from Partner Direct, which I thought was overall just like a nice presentation. Like had like it had tons of games for a short 20-minute presentation. Like it flowed really well. And seeing 5 rare titles come up um, is nice and just shows that we're never going to finish all of these games.
Oh, for
They're just
sure.
going to
Yeah.
keep they're just going to keep adding more and more.
Every time we do
Um,
5, they add 10.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it feels like.
Uh, what else is there? I remember that World of Goo 2 is coming out this year, which really brings me back to my Nintendo Wii days.
Oh yeah.
That was I don't know if they're gonna use the IR sensor on the Switch for World of Goo 2 where you can point and click. I doubt it, but anyways, more rare titles, right?
Yep. So is there anything
Uh,
else you wanted to talk about this week before we dove into the spotlight, or
um, d- I mean,
because it's a
the
big
other
one?
two, yeah. Nothing really. I mean, the other two I had were Nintendo is suing the creators of Yuzu, which is not
Oh yeah.
fun, and then last week, since we missed last week, there was a final preview for Princess Peach Showtime because certain channels like IGN, Nintendo Life were invited to try out the game. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot to say about that now.
Well,
It's
I
going.
did see my worst fear confirmed about the game, which is that they talked about how it's pretty the difficulty level is almost non-existent, which is exactly what I've been saying this whole time is I'm on the fence. I'm waiting to see if it plays as easy as a Kirby game where you can just sleepwalk through it. I'm not interested, and I think that's where I'm going to end up landing. Yeah, if this is just one of those games where you barely have to pay attention to it and you could finish it, I'm not interested. I mean, it's not for me. I'll say, if it's a game you're interested in, I'm not trying to knock it. But because I know some people like playing games purely for the visual aesthetics, like some people like games for the music. There's all types of different reasons to like a game. But for me, I need at least a little bit of challenge in there. So it's going on the board with the Kirby games, where I might play it way down the line in the future if it's included in some kind of collection or something, but probably won't be touching this one.
Right. Like IGN, I think said that like it's extremely stripped back. Like most interactions can be done with just like one button. Um, and also, I thought it was interesting that they said it's probably meant to be experienced more in like shorter play sessions. Like if you think
Ah,
about like since it's like Princess Peach Showtime and it's like a play, you could think of it more of like an episode of Bluey, like that kind of play session where you enjoy it like maybe like one little scene at a time. So which even points me more towards, it's not a game for me, but it could be a game that is successful. I have no idea what kind of success it will bring.
And there are a
Um,
few exceptions to that difficulty thing for me too. Like for example, the Yoshi games aren't difficult, but I feel like the difference is Kirby, you could literally almost just like walk to the right and it feels like nothing stops you. You just walk from start to finish in the levels. Whereas the Yoshi games, it feels like you have to at least think about like where to shoot your eggs or like where to find a door or something. So this game could have that aspect to it and redeem itself a little bit.
right, and they bring up both Nintendo IGN bring up Yoshi and Yoshi's like crafted Yoshi's Woolly World in the comparisons to this game because like everything is supposed to be like a set design, so there are like representations of other things that Peach uses
Oh,
like
I
on
see.
like on the set. Like if she was like, I don't know, if she were to be like, if she was like shooting a cannon, it would be like a cannon made out of cardboard or something, something like that. um but exactly, I think it looks nice. I think it looks like very very beautiful, so it might be an exception in a way. um I should bring up that it is a $60 game, and
Yeah, that's definitely what's got me like if this was like a $20 or $30 game, I'd give it a chance, but I'm definitely, like I said, waiting for a collection or something.
yeah. Oh, the main antagonist of this game is called Grape, which I think that's a just adorable. Grape and Peach, like I just think
Yeah.
that's like, I just think that's very very cute. I mean, it's gonna be a cute game, and 30% off. Would I play it? I don't know. I don't know, but I hope it does well. Um, speaking of price points, did you see that Luigi's Mansion 2 is going to be a $60 game?
I did, and that's another one where I'm just like, I mean, I'll probably end up buying that one, but only because I have like OCD and I kind of want to have like all the Luigi Mansion Switch games like on my system. I just like seeing the icons next to each other, as dumb as that sounds. But I'll probably end up buying that with like a voucher or something. I probably won't like buy that specifically as like a day one by itself purchase.
Nothing makes sense at this company.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. Like Mario versus Donkey Kong, $50. Why? I don't know. Luigi's Mansion 2 3DS remake, $60. Is it $60 because
I saw
it's
somebody
a
speculate because it'll have more online functionality. So which the DS version did have online functionality, so it's totally possible.
they got to charge us $10 for online functionality?
I guess. I mean, I
I
don't know.
I understand. I understand what they're saying, but I reject the the justification for it, at least. Or I don't know. Nothing makes sense as far as price point goes. I don't get it. Like, it's fine. I think it's fine.
I
Like
think
I
it would
was,
be more appropriate, and again, this is more of like the greedy like gamer in me where we always want more. But I think $60 is a totally appropriate price point if it had the original Luigi's Mansion game as well.
yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. I mean,
Because
it's
that's
just
what
like,
they like when they did Pikmin 1 and 2, they could have done that, like have them separate but discounted together or something.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, paying $60. I mean, when I paid $60 for the 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 Mario, whatever it's called, the Mario trilogy, the the Mario 64 Sunshine Galaxy, that seemed okay because it was three games, even though they were like three older games. But this one, I don't know. It's just like I feel like I don't know what games are going to be are going to cost, and it's just weird that one is 50 and one is 60, and even though if one's a newer game and one's online, and I don't know.
Well, one
I
thing
would
I do know is I want to talk about our spotlight game. Are we all set for that?
definitely.
Cool. So I'm just anxious to talk about this game. I love this game. So if you forgot, because it was like 2-3 weeks ago at this point, we drew in the randomizer to talk about the Game Boy Color classic Link's Awakening DX for, like I said, the Game Boy Color. Came out in Japan in June of 93. Well, the original game came out in June
Original.
of 93 and August of 93 in North America. But the DX version, which was in color on the Game Boy Color, came out in December of 98 in Japan and December of 98 in North America. 3 days apart for some reason. We got it on the 15th, they got it on the 12th. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know how calendars work. I don't know if that was a day of the week situation.
Yeah, the time change.
Oh yeah,
There
yeah.
we go. There we go.
So yeah, we've talked about in the past about Nintendo how they like to put these tag categories on their titles. Like the Nintendo 64 has a lot of games that end in 64. Super Nintendo had a lot of games with Super in the title. Especially if they were sequels to an NES game, they would always be like Super Metroid. So um, for a minute, they were leaning on Deluxe with the Wii U games that transferred over to Switch. But that said, DX, this is the original Deluxe, and it was a naming convention that they were trying out back in the day. There was Super R Type DX, Tetris DX, and then they had Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, which was what the DX stood for. But um I think it was like a passing fancy for them because they literally put all of those games out in the 98 to 99 year. So it was like for 1 year they were like, "All right, DX, that's our subtitle for Game Boy games." And they kind of like gave up on it.
Yeah, I just always thought that it was the same. It was like the same Elon Musk justification of like, oh, like the letter X is just a cool letter. It's
Yep.
just a cool letter. So because because I'm a big wrestling fan, and like D Generation X was the exact same time as as the DX games. So I don't know. I was thinking about other things in pop culture, like we had D Generation X also in the late '90s, which tormented so many school teachers during that time. Uh, so the DX, it looks cool, you
What
know.
did you think of the game though? Because I know you're going through like a whole Zelda playthrough, and I know you love the remake. So what did you think of finally tackling the original?
I guess because I spent a little bit of time going. I never played the original, so I went back a little bit to see what the original was like, and then Game Boy Color. Um, is there? I mean, is there? Do you feel any difference between the original and the DX version besides I guess the mouse photographer and all the other the extra things they added?
Yeah, so if anybody doesn't know, what they did change is like Harrison said, there's a photographer that tied in with the Game Boy camera. You were able to print, or the Game Boy printer rather. You were able to print these things that he would take pictures of. And then they also had a bonus dungeon that they added, which because Game Boy Color games I guess, would play on an original Game Boy. This was their way of trying to like force you to buy a Game Boy Color if you didn't already have one, because to do the dungeon you need to be able to see the colors. Like the puzzles are color based, so that was their way of getting you. So they added that dungeon. Um, but other than that, no, it's pretty much just they colored in the original game. So there's not much. There literally is no difference. They just colored in the original game. Same music, same sprites, same everything.
I'm thinking back to this time, like was there ever any kind of feedback of from people who like could not see color? Like because
Oh no, not that I
like
know of.
like like my dad wouldn't have been able to complete that dungeon, you know, because like he wouldn't have been able to see like what's green and what's blue, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, so I think it overall like it plays really well. Um, I I'm not so sure because since I started out with like the remake, which I really love, and I gotta say it's really nice to be able to use those extra buttons, like the X and Y buttons for items, and
hmm,
then have your A button to like interact. It's been so long, but
yeah.
um, I know
Quality of life improvements.
I know a big criticism because this game started out it started out as a Link to the Past, correct? Like they wanted to make Link to the Past for for Game Boy, but then it turned into Link's Awakening.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
a
I've
big
I've heard that.
criticism a big criticism was one, it's going to be on an 8-bit console, handheld console, and two, there's only two buttons. So two buttons and you have lots of items that you have to switch around from. So I think the Switch version, like the remake, offers some really nice quality of life improvements because we have those extra buttons that I'm kind of looking at the DX version going, why not? You know? Because we have it now. Um I
Yeah, I think they
think
just want they for some reason they want to stay pure. Because the DX, the Game Boy Color also only had those two buttons. So for some reason, Switch Online doesn't want to mess with that. I mean, we saw that with the Super Mario remakes on the Game Boy Advance as well. That button layout was really weird.
yeah. So I mean, it'd be a nice option, but I'll bring it back. Did you find the color choice to be kind of bold in this game?
Yeah, and I think that was intentional for the time. I think they wanted Game Boy Color games to really pop when you saw the screenshots in game magazines, because that was what sold games back then. That people weren't going online and looking at gameplay trailers. They weren't looking at trailers at all. You get to see a commercial on TV maybe. But so I think that was intentional to make the game really pop on a magazine page.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know something that you really want to talk about, so I'll send it over to you. I love chain chomps in Zelda games. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I made a list of all the cameos that are in this because it's in this weird dream environment, and they decided to put all. There's so much to talk about this game that there's no way we're going to be able to do it all this episode, but um because there's like a whole reason behind why there's all these Mario characters in the Zelda game, or Nintendo characters I should say. And you can find interviews with the developers where they talk about how they didn't even, they just did it to be funny basically. And I think even like forgot that Shigeru Miyamoto was going to see this at some point, and, and they were like, oh wait, we forgot to ask if we're allowed to do that. But yeah, anyway, so the Chain Chomp is in there. The Goombas are in there. You've got Kirby making a cameo as an enemy. You've got Piranha Plants, Shy Guys, Yoshi as a plush doll, and Wart from Super Mario Brothers 2, who we always talked about wanting him to come back. You got Wart in there as Oh, they changed his name. I forget what they changed his name to, but it is Wart.
Oh. Is it just Wart? Yeah. I I think that is I think the cameos are super cool, and the the chain chomp, like the way they use it in the game to get to, is it the second dungeon in the
Yeah.
game? It's just it's a really it's just so it's such a silly Zelda game. It's just so silly. I guess is really what I want to say. Now, I haven't played all I haven't played all the Zelda games. Is Link's Awakening the smallest overworld, or is Link to the Past smaller? It sure seems it
You
feels
might be right.
small.
I've never seen anyone say that, but you might be right. It just in my memory, it is a pretty small overworld map. But
Yeah,
they do a good
like
job of stretching it out by constantly throwing roadblocks in the way.
they do an excellent job. I think if you like look just like top down from like the overworld map, uh
One of
they
the Oracle
use
games might be smaller now that I think of it, but they end up like extending it by having uh I think Oracle of Seasons might have a really small map, but you're constantly changing the seasons, so that makes up for it type thing.
it the space is used extremely well. Uh, just because it does feel small. Like you can get from one corner to the next. Um, I wonder. Do you think there was ever a bigger plan for how do you is it Marin or Marin? Marin?
I
The
don't know, but she's definitely like it's funny because her and her dad are definitely like Malin and Talon from Ocarina of Time, which would come down the road.
Mhm.
So it's weird that those ideas got recycled.
I'm I'm very interested in her character, and you know what? It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to see someone so enthralled with Link. No offense to Zelda, no offense to her, but like it's kind of nice to like because it sure seems like Marin like really like obviously she wants to like tell Link something at the end, but like she really cares for him. Like just thinks that he's like really special. So I wondered like if I thought about having her in future games, or if that was the plan when they originally thought of this character. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
and
I
did
think
you?
the idea just evolved into what we saw in Ocarina of Time, and then they haven't really done much with it since. Like, I can't think there might be something similar in Twilight Princess, but definitely not in Wind Waker or any of the other 3D Zeldas that have come after.
Yeah. And it's never like I think she's featured in like a Smash game,
Yeah.
like all the other one time characters or whatever. Did you see The Verge actually posted an interview last week with the show creator of Twin Peaks, Mark Frost, and they talk
I saw
about Link's
yeah, I saw
Awakening.
that you sent that, and I looked at the date on the article, and it was written very recently, and that surprised me because basically I know I've heard that somewhere before, but I don't know where. So it's like it's not new information, but I also don't know where I got it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's cool that Twin Peaks influenced this the creepy dream feel for sure.
I Yeah, I never knew like I didn't even know that Twin Peaks was a show before Netflix.
Oh yeah, no, it was
So
big
I
in
was
the
kind of
'90s.
yeah I'm kind of out on that. So okay, so it came out in 1990, and that's kind of interesting. It just that
It
it
was
was a
like the X
coincidence.
Files, probably had the same kind of target audience. Like it was that one of those type of shows.
Oh yeah, which games were inspired by the X Files? Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Overall, I love this game. For me personally, I wouldn't play this version only because I'm gonna play the Switch version if if
I
I'm gonna
pref-
sit down and play it.
I prefer the music in the original. I'm just gonna go out and say that, and I wish the remake had that Super Mario RPG remake option where you could
Option,
listen
yep.
to the original music instead. Um, I found myself. I remember that was one of my first impressions when I first got that remake and did my first playthrough. Was I'm disappointed in some of this music in a few of the areas because I grew up with this game. Some of the music in it is just so iconic, and I felt like the updated versions were not as good. Like
So
specifically the mountain, the music when you're on the mountain, I can't think of the name of the theme, was much better in the original, in my
so
opinion.
would you play this version then? Would you play
No, I think I'll always play the remake like you said, but I do wish that I could get that original music back. That's something I'm always going to
for sure?
miss. And I don't know. I'm sure there are times I would go back and play this version. I'm not saying I'm never going to play this version again because there's definitely a charm and a nostalgia to that original look. But I think at least the next few times I play through this game, it's definitely going to be the remake.
Yeah.
We didn't even
Which
talk about like one thing I think
mhm.
listeners should look into if they're interested in this game is because I don't have all the details on it here. I was a little busy this week, but did you hear about the contest they had when this launched where they had a, a, a train ride? It was like a cross country train trip where people were given copies of the game, and the first person to finish the game won some prize. And like the whole point of it was to show that like this was a game you could finish in a sing. The Game Boy was good enough that the batteries would last and you could play through this full game on a single train ride, was kind of what they were trying to promote.
What kind of batteries though, Nintendo?
They
Nintendo, you don't make batteries.
well I think there was in the battery life of the system, but like they I don't know, this is a kind of a cool event that's worth looking into because there's YouTube videos about it. I guess there was a guy on the ride that they thought he died because he like went into a cabin and like they were pounding on the door and he wouldn't answer the door, but it turned out he just fell asleep and he was like a deep sleeper. There was like another part where I guess somebody should have won the contest but they weren't eligible to win for some reason, but they were actually the first one to finish, but they were just there for the fun of it, and they weren't eligible for the contest. So the person who won technically came in second place. Um, so yeah, I don't know. There's YouTube videos about this competition. It sounds wild. I guess they had to change the train route at a certain point because the tracks were closed on the original planned route or something. I don't know. Look it up. Look it up. That's all I'm saying. I don't have all the facts.
That's
I just know it's an interesting story.
that sounds super cool. I mean, like today you would just do a Twitch stream. I mean,
Yep.
you'd have people rate you'd have people would race and you would just do it from your own home. I couldn't imagine being on a train because his my strategy would just be to try to annoy everyone next to me. Like don't and like don't shower for a few days, you know, like that would be my strategy. Like just try to make everyone else miserable to make up for the fact that you're not so good at video games. That's what I would do.
So where would you rank this?
All right. um this is kind of special. I'm gonna put it at number 4. So
Wow.
number 4 would be above Ocarina of Time, definitely. Definitely above that, and it's below Mario Brothers 3, and Zelda: Link to the Past. here's my problem. Um, and this is what I've been thinking about a lot this week. First thing is that I have to rank Link's Awakening lower because there is a Switch remake.
Mm.
I have to rank Link to the Past higher because, well, one, it's awesome, but two, there's not really a better way for me to play it right now besides like the online system. So I wonder, if we had a Link to the Past remake, where my rankings would be, because the main reason I'm doing it this way is because there's no Link to the Past remake. I think that's the main reason why I'm putting them the way they are.
Well, I'm ranking it a little bit lower than you. It's still at the top of my list, though. I put it at number 6. So my top 5 right now are A Link to the Past, Toe Jam and Earl, Minish Cap, Yoshi's Island, and Ocarina of Time. So those are all the games above it. I put this right below Ocarina of Time. But honestly, and then below that is a bunch of Mario games. So honestly, I was thinking this week. Like, I bet if I had to, I could just play Zelda and Mario games for the rest of my life. If it was like, those memes that you see where it's like, could you live in this shack for a year for $1 million? Like, it's like, could I only play Mario and Zelda games for the rest of my life for $1 million? I think I could. So
Well,
it's in good company.
if we ever get to in the future, I would like to do like I'd like to do a segment of like the stranded on an island segment. It's like, oh, you're stranded on an island. You can only play 5 games for some reason.
Woo!
For some reason, you only have 5 games. In this hypothetical situation. So, um, like which one would those be? You can think about it, because it might not be your 5 favorite games. It would have to be 5 games that you could just play a lot.
Yeah, because like
So
for example, there's a lot that goes into that because, for example, Ocarina of Time here is in my top 5, but I don't think I'd pick it for that because I've played it so many times that I'm like, do I really want to play this? I've played it like 50 times. Do I want to play it 50 more? Or do I want to put something in there that I know I also like but haven't played as much? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Right. Or like I could pick Breath of the Wild because like I could put 200 hours into a single playthrough, but like it wouldn't be on my list, but like if you wanted to put like Mario RPG on there, you know, that's a 20-hour game that you're going to be playing, you know, over and over again, which, well, you have. So
Yeah.
maybe it's not the best example, but you know what I mean. Like, some of my favorite games aren't long games.
And we are not an overly long podcast. So I think that is our time for this week, unless you
What
had
are we
anything else
playing
you
next
wanted to
week?
add. What's
No, what
that?
are we playing next week?
Oh, yeah.
What are we
I keep
playing?
forgetting that, man. All right. Let me hit the randomizer here. I don't even have the sound queued up, so I'll just go right into it.
Do 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 do
Click.
do do.
All right, so the randomizer picked we got an NES game. We're going back to the original Nintendo, Drain That Well. We got I've never heard of this. No, I know what this is. It's called Xavius the Avenger. I think that's like a shoot 'em up like spaceship game where you're like, top down flying, shooting things. So,
This is not one that I know.
well, that's what we're playing next week. Xavius the Avenger. I think this had like a sequel or something too. It might have been an arcade game too. I don't know. I'll do all my research for next week. So, if you're a fan of Xavius the Avenger, or you think we totally messed up what we should have talked about for Link's Awakening, let us know. Our email address is nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. We're on what's it called? Threads, Nintendo Therapy. We're on Reddit, Nintendo Therapy. And if you want us somewhere else, let us know. We'll go there too. Um, thank you all for listening. Leave a review. I always forget to say that. That helps people find the show. And you know what else helps people find the show? Tell them about the show. That's a good way to do it.
Talk to your friends.
Talk to your friends. And we will see you next week for some more Nintendo Therapy. Ta ta.